Good
This
afternoon,
conference
everyone.
will now be recorded.
Welcome you all again. This is class 5. As in the previous class, we have studied the three important experiment which tells that DNA is the genetic material, and they are and the three experiments were Griffith experiment, Avery, McLeod, and McCarthy experiment, Hersey and Chase experiment, and then we have solved some Chargaff's rule numerical problems, which usually comes on the competitive exam. So today is the fifth class, and we will go through, or we will learn about, these are the contents of the today what we are going to learn. This is like what we will learn about: what is a genome, then we will learn about C value and C value paradox. Okay, what do you understand by C value and C value paradox? Then genome complexity, why it is given, why it is tell as genome complexity. Then the most important discovery of the human era, around 2000, is the Human Genome Project. Then we will know about the brief history about the HGP, Human Genome Project goals. Then we will, what was the goal for creating this project, and then what was the method used in this Human Genome Project. And then finally, they stated some silent features of human genome. Okay, and then we will go through one by one in this class. Okay, so first we will go through that what is a genome. Okay, what do you understand by genome? Genome, a genome is an organism, is an in an organism it is a complete set of DNA, or we can say that the total content of the DNA in an organism is called a genome. And we know in the genome genes resides. Okay, not only genes, there are non-coding regions, non-coding introns. Okay, jumping junk DNA, jumping genes, transposon. So all it resides in DNA, and the total content of the DNA is called as a genome. Now each genome contains all of the information which is needed to build and maintain the organism. Correct? Now in humans usually, the entire genome is made up of 3 into 10 to the power 9 base pair, right? Or we can say 3 billion DNA base pairs are there in round figure. So all the cells in human contains this number of DNA base pairs in a nucleus, right? So now most genomes, you know, most genomes are made up of DNA, but few viruses have RNA genomes. Okay, so that is the exceptional case. Okay, so but in most of the organism, you will find most the genomes are made up of DNA only, not made up of RNA. Okay, so now, this eukaryotic genome, okay, are of two types. Okay, nuclear genome and organelle genome. In plant it is a chloroplast genome, and in uh, mammals or in our humans it is mitochondrial genome. Okay, so now, the word genome, coined by a German botanist whose name was Hans Winkler in 1920, and he used, because before the coining of the term genome, the term gene and chromosome was already coined. So using these two words, gene, okay, from gene, GEEN, and from chromosome, the last OME was combined and made the term genome. Okay, now what is C value and C value paradox? Now I told you that The genome is what? The total amount of DNA present in the organism. So now this the DNA, okay, the DNA has region of different length. This different length or this different length of sequences present in the DNA, it it defines the C value. So C value is what? The C value is the amount of DNA in the haploid genome of an organism. It is talking about haploid, not diploid. Okay, so in diploid it will be double. So but we have to consider haploid only, because the cells is haploid, and only it will become diploid when it mates, right? When eggs are formed or zygotes are formed. Okay, after that it got diploid. So but we will count only haploid genome of an organism. So the C value is what? The C value is the amount of DNA in the haploid genome of an organism. Now, in general, eukaryotic genomes, we know eukaryotic genomes are larger and more complex when compared to the prokaryotic genome. Now, one obvious belief was that the it is this differences, that eukaryotic genomes are larger and prokaryotic genomes are smaller because of complexity, or because or we can say humans are more uh, complex than the prokaryotes. And the belief was that it is because of the number of genes present in the complex organism. But this theory but this is not true. The theory holds for lower eukaryotes and prokaryotes, but it falls when it comes to the higher eukaryotic organism. Okay, and then finally the scientists, after over the years, scientists have learned that the size of the genome is not related to the genetic complexity or morphological features. Okay, it is not true. Okay, this lack of correlation between genome size and genetic complexity is called C value paradox. Paradox is what? The term, the term or word paradox means is that it is contradictory statement. Okay, previously it was thought that the genome size is related to the complexity of the organism, but it's not the case. The case is different. The studies tell that there is no relation, there is lack of correlation between genome size and genome complexity. This statement, it is contradictory, and this statement simply tells the paradox. This means the paradox. So this is called C value paradox. Okay, so for example, like salamanders and lilies, okay, have tenfold more DNA than humans, although they are less complex than humans. All right, even if you will find in amphibians, okay, in case of amphibians, you will see, like, in the same species, okay, in amphibians in the same is their DNA content varies. Okay, 100-fold of differences can be found in their own species. So it simply tells that the genome size is not related to the complexity of the organism or morphological feature of the organism. Okay, now this difference in size is because of the previously they thought that, okay, genes were responsible, maybe because obviously the genes will correspond to the proteins, and the proteins will function, and the organism, uh, the protein is the final product which makes our body, or our body to be function right in a correct manner. Finally they thought, okay, gene were the responsible for this, but it is not the case. After the studies, after the several experiment, they find that these differences is because of this correlation, this lack of correlation between genome size and genetic complexity is only because of the large amount of non-coding sequences that are present in the genome. So not because of the number of genes reside. So this was the case only because of the non-coding sequences. Which are the non-coding sequences? There's introns, and introns usually made up of junk DNA, transposons are there. Okay, so satellite DNAs, then repetitive sequences. These are the non-coding sequences which usually are present in large amount. Okay, so now so we came to know, okay, the relation between genome size and genetic complexity is, it's not related. Okay, it's having a differences. Okay, so now c value. So what is the, why they given the term c value? Okay, the c value means, c means here constant or characteristic. Okay, and value means the amount of DNA content in haploid per nucleus. Okay, in haploid cell. Okay, so the amount of DNA content per nucleus in haploid cell. Okay, the, the c value signifies constant or characteristic, and the value signifies the amount of DNA content in a haploid cell, and this typically measured in 1 picogram, that is roughly 1 gigabase. Okay, now in the figure you can see that the mycoplasma, gram positive bacteria, gram negative bacteria, then fungus, molds, algae, worms. Okay, uh, if you see the graph, that okay, there was relation. Okay, there was relation between the genome size and complexity. So mycoplasma, then gram positive bacteria is more complex than mycoplasma. The gram negative bacteria, then fungus is more complex. Okay, the graph, it was, the size of the genome was increasing, but when it enters when it enters to the mammals, okay, uh, insects, then mammals, then amphibians, then plants, there was no relation between the genome size and the complexity of the organism. Now, this term C value was first used by Harrison Swift in 1950. And then the C value paradox, the term C value paradox was given and used by C.A. Thomas Jr. in 1971. And C value uh, enigma was coined by Canadian biologist known as Dr. D. T. Ryan Gregory. He was professor on University of Guelph in, and the term was coined on 2000 or 2001, in between that. This, what is C value enigma? Okay, this is what, this is just a modified version of paradox. Okay, because the paradox was uh, was not the complete case. Okay, it is just, it tells about, paradox tells about, it's a contradictory statement. It means the contradictory statement was there, but in some cases like in lower eukaryotes and prokaryotes, there was relation between the genome size and your complexity. Okay, or morphological feature. So they changed the paradox term and they used enigma instead of paradox. Okay, now what is genome complexity? See, genome complexity is the it tells the total length of different sequences of DNA present in the genome. Okay, what is mean that the total length of different sequences of DNA present in the genome. So genome complexity can be measured through renaturation kinetics or reassociation kinetics. You can say, uh, the both terms are usually used. So new renaturation kinetics of denatured DNA means the DNA is renatured and then again it is reassociated with a particular temperature. Okay, this renaturation of DNA occurs through obviously complementary base pairing, because DNA binds with a complementary base pair. The two strands are joined together in a complementary base pairing rule only. So obviously renaturation happens because of complementary base pairing. So renaturation of DNA depends how renaturation will happen. This renaturation of DNA depends on random collision of the complementary strands. Okay, random, it will be like random collision of the complementary strand, and follows second order kinetics. Okay, so second order, it will follow the second order kinetics, means it depend upon the concentration of the product, concentration of the reactant. Okay, and then the concentration of the product. Okay, so this is the second order and it follows the second order kinetics. So now our DNA reassociation reaction is described by the Koth half. Okay, Koth half means the CO means C0 means initial concentration of the DNA, means renatured DNA, the single stranded DNA present in the reaction, and T half means after half means half time is called as T half. Okay, if the large, suppose an experiment you have carried, in that experiment you have uh, seared the DNA, large DNA is seared into a uniform fragment, and then you are allowing to renature. Then this rate of renaturation of denatured DNA is expressed in dc by dt minus kc square, where k is the rate constant of the second order reaction. Okay, and c is the concentration of single stranded DNA at time t, and the second order rate equation for two complete strands coming together is given by the rate of decrease in c. Obviously, if the single stranded DNA is there, if it is getting renatured, so obviously the concentration of single stranded DNA, it will decrease slowly. So that is only, it says that it depends upon the second order kinetics. Okay, now suppose now starting concentration is C0. Okay, of completely denatured DNA, means at T0 there is no double stranded DNA, all DNA are is denatured. Okay, now at particular time T, the amount of single stranded DNA remaining at some time T given is given by C by C0 equals to 1 by 1 plus rate constant C0 and but at time T. Okay, now this we have to convert into half. Okay, the time for half of the DNA to renature, means half of the DNA is renatured and half of the DNA is single stranded, denature is in denatured form. Okay, then what we will put, that C by C0 is 0.5. If we'll consider one as a whole set of DNA, then C by C0 will be 0.5, because we are considering half DNA is renatured and half DNA is still denatured, is present in the form of denatured. So T equals to now T half, because we are considering half time. So now we'll put the value C by C0 0.5 in the above equation, and then we will find that it gives that cot half equals to 1 by k, which tells that this CO means renaturation of this denatured DNA is inversely proportional to the rate constant, which means that if cot half is greater, okay, the value of cot half is greater, then the reaction will be slower, because it is inversely proportional to the rate constant. So if the value of cot half is less, which means that the rate of reaction or rate of renaturation is very fast. Okay, and with the help of this equation and this formula and this with the help of this derivation, we used to find that which is the highly repetitive sequences, which is moderate repetitive sequences, and on the basis of that this they find these repetitive sequences, non-repetitive sequences, and moderately repetitive sequences that we will study in the later classes. So just remember this cot half values and cot curve is being used to determine the renaturation kinetics of the denatured DNA, and it is being used to know the rate of the reaction means, and it also tells about the genome complexity, or you can say that the genome size differences is present in the organism. Okay, now the fraction of the DNA is still a single standard form, so still there will be some fraction which is in the single standard form, and that we will plot a graph that is uh, the single standard form versus initial concentration of uh, at time t initial concentration cot. Okay, the resulting curve represents the reassociation kinetics of the DNA and is usually called as a cot curve. Okay, you can see this is a diagram. This is fraction of this is a picture which tells the reassociation kinetics, and this graph is called as a cot curve. Okay, or graph. Okay, this the graph shows that, okay, you can see that that human DNA and E. coli DNA is there. Okay, then they have shown the initial concentration of DNA, single stranded DNA present at time at the time t, then fraction of dissociation in the y-axis, and in x-axis they have shown uh, the reassociation of the this denatured DNA. So you in the figure you can clearly see that the human DNA has a different phase. Okay, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 means different slopes are there, but in E. coli there is only one slope, and it is taking very fast. Okay, there is and it is taking very fast because the size of the E. coli DNA is less. Further, it does not have non-coding sequences. Okay, but in the case of human DNA it is having non-coding sequences. So this phase 1, which is getting reunited, means with the DNA, the size of the DNA in phase 1 is being renatured very fast. That is highly repetitive DNA sequences. Okay, now the phase 2 tells about moderately repetitive sequences. Okay, because it takes more time to renature than the highly repetitive sequences. Now phase 3 is a unique DNA sequences. Okay, only a few copies per genome is present, so it takes more time to renature because it is having a uniqueness. Okay, it takes more time to renature because we are doing random collision. Okay, now in practice these divisions are somewhat arbitrary. As I told you, it is arbitrary. We can do it because we are this experiment is done as a random collision of this denatured DNA and then renatured, right? And phases are not so distinct. Now E. coli DNA reassociates in a single phase because it does not have all these non-coding sequences, so it renatured. Renaturation takes very fast, and the size of the genome is also less. So this is the this and in this way, this cot curve helps to know the complexity of the uh, genome of the organism. Now, overall, what this rate of reassociation or renaturation kinetics or COT curve tells is that the rate of reassociation can be followed spectrophotometrically by the UV absorbance decrease as duplex DNA is formed. Obviously, if as the if the DNA is single stranded, you will get more absorbance, UV absorbance. But when it again renatured, again it when it becomes duplex, the uh, the UV absorbance of the UV absorbance is as the time pass, it keeps on decreasing. So COT curve describes the kinetic of reassociation of sample of double stranded DNA that has been fragmented to small pieces, denatured to single strand, and then again permitted to reanneal. The COT half of a reaction indicates the total length of different sequences are present. As we have seen in the graph, that phase 1 signifies highly repetitive sequence, phase 2 signifies moderately, then unique sequences in phase 3. So this, how we will know this we will know by using the help of COT half. Okay, the value of COT half or COT curve can tell the total length of different sequences which are present. Okay, now this is described as the kinetic complexity or genome complexity. Okay, therefore this kinetic complexity and the COT half for the renaturation of the DNA of any genome is proportional to its complexity. Obviously, I told you that E. coli genome was smaller, so it smaller, and it does not have non-coding sequences, so it renatured very fast than the human genome. So that only the case that renaturation of the DNA is proportional to its complexity. The complexity of any DNA can be determined by comparing its COT half value with that of a standard DNA of non-complexity. Okay. Now we will go through about Human Genome Project. Okay, this Human Genome Project was one of the great feats of exploration in history, right? Because instead of searching outward exploration of the planet or cosmos, uh, what is outside the Earth, if we explore that how we get disease, what are the genes responsible for that disease, that will be most important, that will be more important than exploring the outward or outward, right? So the Human Genome Project was one of the greatest, and you can say greatest exploration in history, which together together they discovered the genome sequences in and completed in April 2003. Because this Human Genome Project gave us the ability for the first time to read nature's complete genetic blueprint for building a human being. Obviously, the human beings are made up of DNA, right? Uh, so this project completely based on human, how the life built. Okay, now genetic makeup of an organism or an individual lies in the DNA sequences. If suppose two individuals are there, they will differ in their DNA sequences at least some places. Like usually 99.9% sequences are similar. 0.1% sequences is different, and these 0.1% differences produces a huge impact on that organism, or there will be differences in their DNA fingerprint. Okay, the two individuals will be different from, because of that 0.1% unique sequences present in that human. Okay, this assumption led to the quest of finding out the complete DNA sequence of human genome. Okay, so this is they started to sequence the human genome to find out why this 0.1% differences. There is some differences in the two individuals. It is why it is happening. Okay, so with the establishment of genetic engineering technique, where it was possible to isolate and clone any piece of DNA, and availability of simple and fast techniques for determining DNA sequences, okay, a very ambitious project, which is a Human Genome Project, was launched in year 1990. Now, in 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 addition to that, okay, this project was established for sequencing the genome of human, but in addition to that, they also aim to elucidate the sequences of the genome of several other model organisms such as E. coli, okay, yeast, okay, C. elegans, mouse, okay, and the head of or director of this Human Genome Project was James Watson on initially. Okay, now we know, okay, the genome was sequenced, okay, in this genome project. The human genome was sequenced. Who were that human? Who are they? Whose genome was sequenced? We Okay, usually the there were several France patients that some were diseased, some were normal. Okay, their material was supplied from Paris to uh, Paris, was used for genome sequencing, and this their sample was used. Okay, usually uh, from Paris it was delivered to the National Institute of Health Science. Okay, now we will go through a brief history of Human Genome Project. Okay, in 1997, United States established the National Human Genome Research Institute, and this was a collaborative or international venture involving many different countries and researchers from USA, UK, France, Germany, Japan, and China, and several other laboratories were included around the globe, and and they further this this international this collaboration they further named as International Human Genome Sequencing Consortium, and this was headed by Francis Collin. Excuse me. So a total expenditure of this project was 3 billion, and a time period of 10 to 15 years for the completion of Human Genome Project was expected. There were a second group was also there, and it was a private company which is known as Celera Genomics, led by Craig Venter. He also was the part of excuse me. Okay. He also was the part. Craig Venter was also the part of this Human Genome Project, but there were the two different groups. One was headed by Francis Collin, and the other was headed by Craig Venter. But however, these two groups claim that they will sequence the whole genome of the human, and they will publish a working draft, or called as rough draft, around 2000. And finally, on the date 26th June 2000, Francis Collin and Craig Venter, the two leaders of this two human project, in the presence of President Bill Clinton, they announced the working draft of the human genome sequences. The detailed results of the teams were further published in 2001. As you can see in the right side, the two publication was there. One was in Nature, which was published by Francis Collin Group, and And in another group, Celera Genomic published this working draft in Science Journal by Craig Venter. Okay, then in 2004, this international consortium, or this US government, announced the final uh, draft of the eukaryotic part of the human genome in 2004. Okay, so this is the brief history we came to know about the Human Genome Project. Now we will go through what were the goals of Human Genome Project. There are some important consideration before starting the Human Genome Project, and these are to identify the genes in human DNA. Previously, it was thought that the number of genes present in the human DNA is about 40 to 80,000, but there was controversy in this case, and some scientists found that no, it may be around 30 to 40,000. So these were the goals of Human Genome Project, to first find out the how many number of genes present in the human DNA. Then second, they wanted to know the 3 billion chemical base pairs or chemical nature of the human DNA. Then uh, the information of this the sequences of this the 3 billion base pair, how it is being arranged, it must be stored in database form. And to retrieve this data, so there must be improved tools which must be available, and there must be a technology, advanced technology, to store this type of data, and there must be some library. So all this they considered in mind, and they started this Human Genome Project for the need of the people. Now, some interesting, or you can say analog or sidelights about human genome. Okay, see, human genome was usually consist of 3 into 10 to the power 9 base pair, and the cost, if the cost of sequencing uh, each base pair is about $3, then it will cost around 9 billion US dollar. It is a huge project. Okay, if you start counting this dollar per second non-stop, it would take 90 years to complete, right? The counting of this money will take 90 years if you start counting single dollar. So you can think about, or you can appreciate the magnitude of this project. It was so huge, but they have successfully completed this project with this amount, uh, and but now it is cheaper uh, because of several instruments have been developed now, and it is very fast, very reliable, and it is cheaper than the method being used on that time. Okay, so now if we'll see, if the genome is recited at the rate of one base pair per second for 24 hours. Okay, if this 3 billion base pair, if we will continuously we recite for 24 hours, it will take a century to recite this. Okay, yeah, the second we can another example, a unique example you can consider, that if a typist types the at the rate of 60 words per minute, okay, per minute, for 8 hours a day, then it will take 50 years to type this whole genome sequence. And third example, if you will take, if the DNA sequence is typed in line 10 centimeter containing, if 10 centimeter consists of 60 nucleotides and it's being printed, then it will take about a 5,000 kilometer to make to to type the sequences. It is so huge, right? Now if we'll Now we will go what were the approaches being used for genome sequencing. Okay, so these two groups, there were two different groups which is led by Francis Collin and Craig Venter. Francis Collin group, which is known as IHGSC. Okay, their technique was to map the genome first and then sequences later. The principal method was hierarchical shotgun sequencing. This technique involves fragmentation of the genome into small fragments around 100 to 200 kb and then inserting them into vectors, which is known as bacterial artificial chromosome back vectors, and cloning. And then the clone fragments could be sequenced. Okay, and this sequence will be stored and being used for mapping. Okay, but the second group was cellular genomics, which is led by Craig Venter. They used a whole genome shotgun approach. They didn't use hierarchical shotgun sequencing method. They used a whole genome shotgun approach, and it was a blind approach. They bypass the mapping step. They does not need to map the sequences. Okay, and this saves the time, because in this shotgun approach, one first they assembles libraries of clone. Okay, after inserting the DNA into back chromosome and the clone are generated. They generate a libraries of clone with different size insert, and then they started sequencing one by one at a randomly. Okay, and this method, and after generating this random sequences, they put into the computer, and this computer removes the overlapping regions, means which sequences are getting repeated again and again. They remove that and they make up the complete 99% of the whole genome sequences with very fast. Okay, and 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 then these pieces are attached together. Okay, using a computational approach. Further, and this cellular group was lucky enough to have these high throughput sequencers and powerful computer program, which helps the completion of human genome sequences very early than the previous group. But in practice, if you'll see, the two methods are being used for this sequencing of the human genome. Okay, both methods are being used. Now we will know about the silent features of human genome. After this, the scientists have finished the human genome project, and then finally they published final draft in 2003 and 2000, around 2003 to 2004, and they finally tells about the features of the silent features of the human genome, which are common to everyone. So what were the silent features of the human genome project? The human genome contains around 3164.7 million nucleotide bases, or approximately we can say that 3 into 10 to the power 9 base pairs. Okay, the average gene consists of 3000 bases, but sizes vary greatly, with the largest known human gene was being dystrophin at 2.4 million bases. Dystrophin is the gene which it is the largest human gene, and it is made up of 2.4 million bases. Think about. But the average size of the gene usually is 3000 bases. Now the total number of gene is estimated around 25 to 30,000, but exactly it has been found that the total number of gene is approximately 30,000, much lower than the previous estimates. Estimate was there 80 to 1,40,000 genes. So after the human genome project completion, the scientists found that no, the number of genes in the genome is 30,000. Okay, almost all nucleotide bases are exactly the same in all people, but only point one differences is there. Okay, the functions are unknown for over 50% of the discovered genes. Whatever genes they have discovered, around 30,000 function of the this 50% of the genes, the 50% of the function of these genes are not known. Okay, the less the genome is having 3 into 10 to the power 9 base pair of sequences, but only 2% of the genome sequence corresponds to synthesized protein. Okay, only 2%, almost 98% does not correspond, or it is just a it does not produce this protein. Okay, now this 98% of the sequences mainly consist of what? It mainly consists of repeated sequences, okay, which make up a large portion of the human genome. The what are repeated sequences are stretches of DNA that are repeated many times. Okay, now in repeated many times, around 100 to 1000 times, they found to be there is no coding function, like they does not synthesize protein, but they have some function in maintaining the structure of the chromosome, and then evolution and the dynamics of the organism. Okay, after these studies in around after the studies of this human genome project, they come to know that okay, chromosome 1 has the most genes. Okay, 2968 genes were present in chromosome 1, and the chromosome Y has the fewest, 231. So there we have 24 chromosomes. So each chromosome having a different number of genes, but the most genes was present in the chromosome 1 and the fewest in the 231 in the Y chromosome. Now the scientists have identified about 1.4 million locations where single base DNA differences are there, and this we call as single nucleotide polymorphism, which usually occur, which is found in humans. Okay, how many positions they found? They find 1.4 million locations or positions were present in the DNA where there is single nucleotide differences are there, and these single nucleotide differences used to help or this particular information is being used in the DNA fingerprinting. Okay, so now this information promises to revolutionize the process of finding chromosomal location for disease associated sequences and tracing human history. All this information after the human genome project is being used, completely being used for uh, knowing, completely being used that which genes is responsible for the disease, or which then what are the constitutive genes, what are the expression how much one particular gene is being expressed. Okay, then what is then we will know we come to know the differences between one organism to another. Okay, how we are correlated with our ancestors. So these DNA sequences, finally this human genome project, after assigning the silent features of human genome, it completely tells about the sequences which is related to disease, or which is very important, very crucial for our life. So this is the main features of human genome project. So that's all for today. So thank you for everyone to attending the classes. If you have any doubt, now you can ask me.
Thank you, sir. Today having really very informative session. And shall I proceed for a question answer session, sir?
Yeah, fine. You can proceed.
Okay, students. If you have any question, any doubt regarding today's topic, please come and ask. Okay. Now, sir, Jansi is asking. She is asking that, sir, what is the purpose of importance of C-value paradox?
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah, sir, you are audible.
Okay. See, this C-value paradox, what it tells, like, see, the C-value means what are the different sequences, means the length of different sequences present in the DNA. Okay, present in the genome. So this C-value paradox usually tells that how these different sequences get created differences in the genome. Okay, and the finding of this C value, okay, the total content of the DNA of different length tells about the genome complexity. So then finally it tells about that how much number of genes can be present in the particular DNA of that organism. Okay.
Okay, sir. I think Jansi will read your answer. And second question, Deepsika Datta is asking. She is asking, sir, could you please explain the chord thing again? Okay.
Cot curve. Okay. Yeah. Mm, can you see my slide?
No, sir.
Okay, I have to present again then.
Yeah, sir. We are presented.
Okay. See, so this is the chord curve. Okay. In the x-axis, you are giving a of DNA with particular time. Okay, and this is the fraction dissociation, means how many number of, in y-axis you are giving fraction dissociated, means how many numbers of single stranded DNA are still there. Okay, so in this chord curve, you can see there is E. coli DNA and human DNA, right? So E. coli DNA, we know in E. coli DNA there are no non-coding sequences are present. Okay, further E. coli is prokaryote, it's less complex than the human DNA, means human. Okay, and the human DNA consists of non-coding sequences, correct? So now if we'll see, if the non-coding sequences are more in human DNA, the renaturation kinetics, means the renaturation of okay, the renaturation of the human DNA takes a huge time because of the presence of non-coding sequences. In phase 1, there is a slight slope in phase 1, then phase 2, then phase 3. Okay, it's like a you can say like growth curve of bacteria, it looks like that. Okay, and this is because because of the presence of non-coding sequences. Okay, it's getting renatured very fast. Okay, and then in second it is moderative repetitive sequence, means the sequences are less. These sequences of DNA is present in less amount than the highly repetitive sequences. So these sequences are getting renatured more later than this highly repetitive sequences. Therefore, the unique sequences which are present in the human DNA, that is in phase 3, it's taking more time to renature than the moderately and repetitive sequences. Now if we'll consider the number of DNA sequences which is present in the unique sequences in the human are very less than the E. coli DNA. So the E. coli DNA is taking more time to renature than the if we'll compare to the unique sequences which is present in the human DNA. So E. coli is getting more faster renaturation if you'll compare the renaturation kinetics of the unique sequences of the DNA. But if you'll compare the whole sequences of the human DNA with E. coli DNA, then the renaturation of E. coli DNA is much faster, and it has having a single slope in it. This is in this way, if you'll generate a COT curve of several organisms, you will find the relation. There will be correlation or relation between this the changes in the sequences and changes in the sequences in terms of non-coding sequences presently, not in terms of genes. This is the COT curve. This is the COT curve tells. Okay, and these COT curves are also being, this COT curve information is usually based on C-value products, and genome complexity. Okay, these are the COT curve is the result of C-value paradox, and genome complexity. Okay, I think now I am clear.